Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I'm going to film my immediate thoughts. So, so if you've watched my longer trailer reaction and deep dive, I felt like the storyline was dealing with a lot of him unpacking his younger years in the idol industry, and I still think that that could be part of this. Just the way, just the setting itself feels very like, restrictive, um, uh, uh, and claustrophobic. This hospital, this rundown, dirty hospital. They don't even keep it clean, and the bunk beds. Because if you've ever seen Shiny's old room, it kind of reminds me of that. Not the now the bunk beds. Obviously, they in this are much starker, but like the image of the two sets of bunk beds to the side, and then they had the one bed in the middle, and Onu slept in the middle, and every time they would come down and get down, they would always step on his bed, and like it was very claustrophobic because it was so tiny. And we can actually talk about how, especially first gen and second gen, their living arrangements were fucking terrible. um yeah, no, we're not gonna get into the idol industry that deep. I want to focus more on Taemin in this video. um and so I still feel that vibe. I know I mentioned earlier like the conversion camp vibe that people were getting from it. The that line, the whole idea of loving, was it, I think he said either loving you or loving me is a sin. And the like, because he's always going to have a little bit of like sin juxtaposed with ecstasy, and that relationship between those two things, like even in these lyrics, the idea of surrendering completely, but then there's this kind of control aspect to the lyrics where it's almost like you can surrender and compliance go hand, are or contingent upon doing so in the way that the speaker in the lyrics, it might be him, it might be somebody else, he might be taking on the persona or form of somebody else or something else, but that idea of surrender, but you have to do so in the way that this person who is in control wants, and that kind of push and pull between um, between like compliance and control that he's playing with in the lyrics. And he in the imagery, he's taking on both, right? Like you have him wandering around the hallways, like listing. His dance is very frenzied, it's very frenetic, it's very chaotic, and like very intense emotionally, and it almost feels like, and then the scenes with everybody kind of losing it and just dancing with complete abandon. And then you have, contrast that, him in the white shirt, the white shirt and the shorts and like the blue shorts, and then you have the contrast with him in the long denim skirt, and the burlesque crown. It might be a carnival crown. I spoke about this in the video that I have not released, but it's very similar to either a burlesque crown or the kind of crown you see during Carnival. And of course, Carnival is held, during Catholic Lent, in which you're supposed to abstain. And then you have Easter, and then that symbolizes, and then at the end you have the Easter, and that symbolizes rebirth, and that's spring, and that's filled with flowers and growth, etc. But you have to kind of go through this period of death and not death, but like lack or abstinence, etc. And then you get to the kind of the abundant time. But like, so the crown kind of looks like the kind of crown that you would see in Carnival festivals during Catholic Lent, or the beginning of Catholic Lent or whatever. I'm sorry, I haven't been a practicing Catholic since I was like in like middle school. So it's been a while. So, and then I was like, went from, my grandmother was Catholic, so I was a little bit Catholic when I was in elementary school and middle school, and then I was like regular Protestant kind of Christian for a while, and then now I'm none of those. So sorry to give you my religious journey. But yeah, so it kind of looks like the kind of Carnival crown, which of course is very significant for Taemin because he's such a, like, Catholicism is embedded in a lot of what he releases. Like, I would say like 90% of his stuff will have some kind of tinge or reference to Catholicism, usually some kind of religious trauma, religious guilt, religious sin. That like I said, that push and pull between sin and ecstasy, sin and worship, because we have the contrast, like I was mentioning, we have him with the crown, and that persona of him in this video is the one who seems to be the most in control of everything that's happening around. So there's the version of him that's completely out of control, that's wandering around at the end, was wandering around this like empty street with all this trash everywhere, and listing and like drained, almost like he's drained. He's tired or he's disoriented in some way. And then you have the other version of him that's completely in control, that's like the god or the high priest or whatever you want to call it, of this a group of worshipers. And he's always like kind of higher up, and everybody's kind of surrounding him and like what's it called, abasing themselves, I think that's the word. And so he's kind of taking on both of those personas, and it's really, and he always likes to like take on characters, like he creates characters. That's how he approaches his music. He creates characters and then embodies that character, and a lot of times he takes on multiple characters in each release. Like, it's never just one Taemin. You never just get one Taemin. From the very beginning, from Danger, rewatch Danger if you haven't, he has that whole bifurcation there as well, where he has him with the blonde hair and him with the black hair, and they're like kind of almost diametrically opposed. And that has kind of imbued most of his releases. Not everything. Like, Think of You is just him wandering around Paris. Like, aesthetics and stuff like that. Just, vibing. So, obviously, that one, no. But, like, even sometimes in the lyrics and stuff, even if it's not the video, it's the lyrics, he'll have that kind of, duplication. But in this one, I don't know, there was a frenzy to everything. Everything felt so just chaotic. And I know a lot of people online wondered if maybe this release is tied into his military experience and the anxiety and his panic disorder, etc., that he had, that flared up during the beginning of his military service, and then he had to transfer over. And I can see that, absolutely. You can, like, my first thought was always the idol industry, but though that room with all the beds absolutely could be, a symbol of the barracks and stuff like that, like military life. Yeah, and we got some more shots of the the training out in the yard and the gun being put in his hand. And so, yeah, military, him processing his, military trauma, absolutely feasible. I can absolutely see that. That interpretation. But again, this is all interpretation. It's art. It's, once the art leaves the creator, then it's up for interpretation because it's art. So it's partially what you bring to it and what you pull from it and what touches you and what resonates with you. So there's not really there's no theory that's necessarily absolutely wrong, because art is a transactive kind of experience. Like it's about it's a two-way experience. It's not just, it's about the creator and what he wants to convey, but it's also about what it brings out in the viewer. Which I think actually it's interesting because the themes in this video also are touching on what he is able to bring out in others. Like the lyrics and whatnot are talk about, what he makes you feel, like, and so he is deliberately playing on that idea of you observing him, you interacting with him, and him using whatever he can to pull emotions from you, to draw you in deeper. That idea of the manipulation through lies, that were part of the lyrics as well. Yeah, this video is not going to be 15 minutes. But I'll try to keep it under half an hour. Yeah, so I think that is absolutely being pulled out. I haven't talked about the costuming and stuff. Everybody looked great for the most part. I mean, we have the one guy that always has braids, and I wish he would just let them go, that one dancer. And then I saw one do-rag, so you know how we feel about that. I am black, so I have thoughts. They're not super intense. Like, it's K-pop. There's more important things happening in this world than me being mad about it. That doesn't mean that other people can't be mad about it. I'm just saying that that's how I feel personally. Oops, sorry, totally bumped the camera. Yeah, no, it was great. I really like the song. I love the parts where he's like whispering and like breathy, and it kind of gives this like really kind of interesting contrast when he's singing with his full voice versus when he's doing the whisper, and everything feels a little, almost not disjointed, but I guess a little bit disjointed, and it feels a bit, it kind of mirrors the concept, right? Where everything is very kind of frenzied, but also like chaotic. And that's how the his vocals sound to me, not in a bad way, but like as in it's embodying the concept really completely and fully. Like the whispering was very evocative. Like I really enjoyed that part. I don't know why, but I did. Dancing is always great. Again, I know that this is like Bada Lee and Casper kind of collab. I think there's a couple other people who also had contributed to the choreo, but yeah, it's lots of like frenzied movements. I mean, we know if you've watched like what's it called, SFW, whatever, that dance show, that street dance show, Street Fighter Woman, I think it's called, and you've watched Bada Lee, you kind of know her style. She's a great dancer, so I think her and Taemin really suit each other. It's very interesting. I'm really excited to see like a full performance of the choreo, so I can see the full choreo and the dance movements, etc. Sorry, that's the same thing as choreo. So I can see the full choreo and the movement and the interpretation of the song through dance, because that's so important, obviously, for Taemin's artistry. Yeah, I'm really excited. This has been a really great lead up to his release, and I really love the way that he approaches eroticism and religious eroticism, and the way he approaches, talking about his mental health and the obsession. Like it, I feel like the way he talks about love is it's a very kind of obsessive love, and you're always drowning. There's always that feeling of drowning, but it's also, he also like contrasts it with this feeling of transformation from it. Like whenever he talks about love, it's always like in the context of transformation. Yes, sometimes it usually it has to do with like death, and sometimes violence, but it's usually death and violence as tools of transformation. And that's how he usually approaches things. And I really, really like it. It really resonates with me and it really vibes with me. So I think this video is long enough. So we're gonna stop it here. If I want to, I might record another reaction of me just deep dialing, going frame by frame and thinking about and talking about scenes and moments in the music video. I don't know. I may not do that because I did that for the trailer and it was a really long video and I don't want to do that again. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the themes and the song. I have to listen to the song some more. My favorite, so just to let you know, my favorite Taemin title track is Idea. And it's tough to say my favorite B-side. That's hard. My favorite album from him is Never Gonna Dance Again. And and especially the full album, not just like part 1, part 2, none of that. Like the full Never Gonna Dance Again experience is my favorite Taemin album. So I'll have to do an album listen to see how I feel about Guilty. I mean, I also kind of rank it differently because it's a mini album versus a full album. So I almost want to compare them differently. I want to compare it to his other mini albums rather than his against a full album, because I'm always going to be biased towards full albums, just personally, just me, because it has more songs, so it has more stuff for me to love. But I will do an album listen for Guilty. I don't know if I'll be able to film it today. I might. I guess I can film it today. I can film a first listen today. If I'm wearing the same outfit, it means that I was able to film it today. If I'm wearing a different outfit, that means I had to save it for tomorrow. But yeah, no, Never Gonna Dance Again is my favorite album, and Idea is my favorite title track. I don't necessarily think it's his best title track. Obviously, he's been perfecting it every time, so the orchestral version of Idea is the best version for sure. But I think thematically, it's like probably the one that I vibed with the most. I really like this music video. Like, this music video was great. I loved it. But I don't know how I feel about Guilty the song. I like the song. Don't get me wrong. I love the song. But I don't know how it ranks in terms of title tracks for me. So I'll have to give it a few more listens to see how I feel about it. In terms of music video, I think his best music video that was just so complete is probably Criminal, maybe Want. But Idea is just personally my favorite, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, his most complete conceptually, probably this was really complete conceptually, actually. So this might stack up to Criminal for me. But my favorite is Idea. It's just something about the way he was playing with heaven and hell in that, and that worked for me. And the Plato's, theory of forms, that whole concept just worked for me on another level. I still haven't read Erotism, so I kind of want to read Erotism and then rewatch this music video with the understanding that this release is very heavily influenced by eroticism. I almost want to do that. So maybe I won't do a deep dive frame by frame until after I've read eroticism, and then I'll come back to this. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. All right. We're gonna leave it there. I've talked enough. This video is ridiculously long. Sorry, you guys. You're gonna get two 40-minute videos. Let me know what you guys think of this release. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I do have a Patreon, but there's almost nothing up there right now. I've just started to kind of build out my channel. So the Patreon just has a few episodes of Wheel of Time up there of my rewatch of season 1. It doesn't even have season 2 up there yet. So, and it's going to be a little while before I edit stuff down and start releasing it regularly on YouTube. So I'm going to be honest, I'm at the very beginning of my channel, so I don't know how often I'll be able to release. I'm going to do my best to release once a week, but I can't promise it right now, simply because I have to work, and I have a full-time job, and it's really actually intense. Well, not intense, but it's a really, I'm very busy. Let's just say that. I'm a very busy person, so I don't actually have a lot of time to do the editing and stuff. So it's going to be real irregular for a little bit, okay? All right. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Baby, it's whatever.